Really kind of a bombshell, man. I was told today I spoke to six separate players. Neal Brown ran a soft program. There's no question.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. Welcome back into Locked On West Virginia, baby, for the second time today. Thank you to the great Bill Steele for coming on earlier and chatting around. That was great. But on this one, we're going to tackle a little bit different subject, obviously. Thank you for joining in, guys. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Game Time. Make sure you do it. Game Time is where it's at, man. We all know it. We all love it. You got to know Game Time, man. And look, right now, create the account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your very first purchase. And look, guys, I told you I've been gone, hadn't been really to keep up with a lot. And then I saw I've been catching up on some different things, right? On my way home yesterday, I'm watching the three guys, Eddie Bester in an episode, right? Not a whole lot to it, really. It was a great story. And then he said something that made me look twice. I was really kind of shocked to hear it. And this is what he said.
Anything you've ever had to deal with when it comes to a coach?
Yeah, definitely. It was a learning curve during the spring, but now it feels like they've been here longer than 6 months. It's definitely a difference from last year.
What has changed? What their style is different. What is your noticeable difference of how the game is played and introduced to you guys?
Well, I could start off with intensity.
Intensity, right? Intensity.
I didn't know you could crank up intensity at practice like that.
Didn't even know you could crank up intensity at practice like that.
Intensity is definitely, everything matters. It's there's very vocal,
Rich?
So here's the thing, man. One guy can have an opinion and it doesn't make it the reality in the situation. And I wasn't about to do an episode based off of just Eddie Vesterinen's beliefs. Wasn't going to do it. So what did I do? Well, I started reaching out, man. Not everybody wanted to talk. And it took me a little over a day and a half. But I finally got some people to respond back, right? And so that's what I'm going to do on the breakdown today is give you these anonymous players' quotes. Obviously, I can't put them out on Front Street or they'd never talk to me again. But at the end of the day, you got to trade what you got to trade to get the answers. And, it is what it is. But, great. One thing I'm grateful for is over the last few years, you guys know I've never lied to you. I bring that up only because there are going to be people that have never watched this before, watched me before, and can draw all kinds of conclusions, But I know that, and you guys get on to me that I don't need to preface things, but I feel the need to, because YouTube tells me 80% of my viewers are new. So, people aren't going to know that I have credibility, or at least to you guys. So I just want to put that out there first before we jump into this. But so let's jump in with, Rich Rodriguez has brought back a new level of fire to West Virginia, right? Defensive lineman Eddie Vesterinen, like we said, he went on three guys for the game and kind of dropped a bit of a bombshell there, in my opinion. Practices under Rich Rod are so intense that he didn't even know you could go that hard. That's pretty crazy. And he also talked about the fiery demeanor of the coaching staff, which definitely aligns with the hard-edge reputation that Rich Rod has. But he's not alone. I spoke to other West Virginia players. Like I told you, I had to preface this also with saying a couple of these guys no longer play for West Virginia. They transferred out, right? I thought I would have better luck with that, but actually I got some guys. I got a mixture, right? So let's go with some of these quotes here. Player number one said, "It's night and day and it's not close. I feel like I wasted 2 years of my college career under the previous staff, but I've got to take personal accountability for that too. That one blew me away. That's why I'm using it first. But I mean, I was like, I mean, it's not close. It's night and day. Feels like he wasted 2 years of his college career under the previous staff, but then he takes personal accountability at the end. So I liked that too. And that's another point of this you have to point out, like, college is definitely what you make of it. And although the last coaching staff maybe didn't coach the same way Rich Rod does, I'm not on here to just crap all over them necessarily. I do think that, you know, I think people are kind of confused because we ran the football a lot. That means we were hard edged. That's not necessarily true, right? Let's say this. If I go to a boxing match, does that make me tough? If I'm willing to fight? No, not necessarily. If I'm not putting in the work behind the scenes to be a good fighter. Similarly, if I want to run the ball down your throat and I'm doing half-ass work, then yeah, absolutely, there are going to be teams that I run over. And then that 3-22 record on the road is going to show itself against good teams too. And then all of a sudden it's going to make sense. Oh, okay. We weren't hard edged enough to really do that against the good teams. Soft edged, right? And at the end of the day, I'm okay with saying it. There are going to be people that watch this and don't like it. I know that for a fact. But I've given up on making everybody happy, you know? I think this is the video that needs to be done. I think that, you know, it's okay to be honest about the previous situation, and it's okay to disagree with me over it. Doesn't mean I'm a bad person. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. Doesn't mean you're right, or vice versa. It just means that this is my opinion based on 6 other conversations I had and Eddie Vestorinen's comments on 3 guys. That's all this is, you know? That's all this is. So, okay, another quote. He said, "It's not just Neal. It was the defensive coordinator, Jordan Leslie, too. Neither one of them were very tough. And now that I've experienced it here where I'm at now, I really know what it's like to be pushed." So obviously this is a transfer player, and he was saying, look, it's not just Neal, it was Jordan Leslie too. Neither one of them are tough. And now that I've experienced this, talking about his current situation, he kind of knows, like, oh, okay, now I know what it's like to be pushed, right? And that's the thing about in the NFL, you're self-motivated because you're getting you're getting paid. You have a contract. It's very much a, if you don't perform, you're gone type situation. In college, we haven't arrived there quite yet. I think we're getting there with contracts and every different thing. But overall, I think college is still very much, your kids aren't going to arrive a finished product, right? And even in the NFL, you have to mold guys. Some guys come into the NFL raw, but, in college, they're literally clay. Eddie Vestorinen's a good example of somebody who saw football on TV and decided, I want to play that. And then came to the States and has now, over the course of 4 years, molded himself into a pretty dang good Power 4 player. He recognizes in one spring session, guys, oh, there's something different about this staff compared to the last one. The intensity is not the same. That's not me saying it. That's him saying it. So here's another quote for you. Talking about this staff, he said, the cohesion from the weight staff to the drills on the field to the coaches and how they operate is so much more fluid, so much better. Under Coach Brown, there were massive inconsistencies from coach to coach. That one floored me a little bit too. But when you think about it, it's probably true. Like we heard about, how he kind of hired his buddies, the way he was criticized for that a little bit. Then we kind of heard about, like, he doesn't even really involve himself a ton with Jordan Leslie, the game planning over there that much. I mean, it was pretty much letting Jordan Leslie do his thing instead of interject him into that situation, maybe a little more, waited till the very end to do that. To the multiple wide receiver coaches, which you're going to have attrition as a staff. You're going to lose coaches. But I'm just saying, for these kids, the experience wasn't great. Losing coach after coach after coach. So that was a thing. And then just overall, I think there were, if you ask me, I think Chad Scott, I think Andrew Jackson, specifically Matt Moore, toward these last few years, like I think those guys are good coaches. This is definitely not the entirety of the staff, but I think when the head of your staff, the head guy, is not an intense person, that's going to trickle down to everybody else. And I mean, like you see Neal Brown, he's out there saying, I'm singing baby on baby. Like he's a great guy. He's got a great personality. And I think he would be better off for a team like that was already good, maybe. But I don't know that he has the tools necessary to make a team that you got to take these 3-star guys at West Virginia and mold them into hard-nosed MFers that punch above their weight, like Owen Schmidt, right? I don't know if that was this. I just don't think looking back that was his wheelhouse. They were at Troy where they were basically, Troy's one of the best programs in the Sun Belt, right? And they have a lot of resources there comparatively to other teams, or at least they have in the past. And I think he was able to build that thing up, and because you were getting the best of the rest in that conference, I think he took some pretty good Troy teams, along with Coach Summerall, by the way, who's at Tulane, and Jordan Leslie and Chad Scott. Like they had a heck of a staff for a group of 5. And boom, there you go, right? They had some really nice wins. And I don't want to say that Neal Brown didn't deserve a shot. He definitely deserved it. It sucks that it had to be with us, guys, because 6 years. If it was like Rich Rod, where he barely got 3 years at Michigan, it would have been much less of a sting. But the brand power that this Flying WV held is pretty much gone. Like to the point to where we had to turn back to the second best coach in the history of our program. So, and he's a guy most people hate. So, for me, it's like, okay, now what do we do? Okay, we're bringing Rich Rod back, and now these guys are all coming out and saying this. Here's another one. Last year, we wouldn't have even made the bowl game or won 9 games the year before if it wasn't a player-led team. I'm telling you right now, it was a player-led team. This guy had an axe to grind. I had to just pick this quote out of a bunch. But he said, guys like Wyatt Milam, myself, and Zach Frazier carried us by example, not them. And he underlined not them. So, for me, man, the Eddie V thing, when I watched it, I was like, okay, like I told you in the beginning, I'm not going to make a video just based off of one quote from Eddie Besteren, and it would be easy to jump to that conclusion. So I started reaching out because you guys know, like I've had dozens of players on this show over the course of the years now, and I know several players all the way from Mumu bin Wahad all the way to TJ Jackson on the show, right? So I know a lot of guys. So, I still have all those contacts. A lot of them are still on my phone. And so I can just shoot a text message out and say, hey, look, you don't have to answer this, but if you do, you're anonymous, right? And it's that simple. A lot of guys chose not to answer. Some guys didn't even respond, right? So, this is like 6 out of like 40. So, but still, I mean, first of all, you can't always trust that somebody's going to be, even though I would have, why do you want to get yourself involved if you still love Coach Brown or anything like that? So keep that in mind, that some of these guys that are responding might have access to grind, right? I always want to be fair. But from my vantage point, some of these guys had good careers under Neal. So I don't know. Let's go to break really quick. On the other side, what I'm going to do is we're going to read the other 2 quotes, and then can West Virginia's defense be good in year 1? I think that's a question a lot of people want to know the answer to. Man, I had Phil Steele on today. When you start to think about all the players we have on that side of the ball, I really do think we have a chance to be not just good, but pretty damn good on defense this year. We talk about that next and reveal the other 2 quotes. We'll be right back. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia Going to be brought to you by Game Time, y'all. And look, Game Time is one of those kind of places that you've ever decided to leave and go to a last-minute ball game with friends or family, and it's a game day, and you suddenly realize that you want to be in the stands, and it's like, oh, man, what do I do? Game day comes in right there. The easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. When the money you save on tickets, you can splurge it on food, drinks, merch. You can even invite a bigger group to come with you if you want. Game Time. Nobody else makes that possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop, contrary to popular belief, closer to the first pitch or the tip-off. And look, they've got incredible deals, last-minute deals, clear seat views. You can use a panoramic view inside of the app. You can look at your entire seating arrangement. And to beat it all, lowest price guarantee takes the work out of buying. You find a lower price, they match it. Take the guesswork out of buying game time tickets today with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Remember the terms. Terms do apply. But create that account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off today, and download the Game Time app today, where you can get last-minute tickets at the lowest prices, and it's always guaranteed, where you answer yourself the question of all questions. What time is it? It's game time. In segment 2, we crack open a hard do. And let's get to these other 2 quotes really quick. Did I exit out of it? No, I didn't. Okay, so let's see. All right, so the place I ended up at was much harder than what we did under Brown. It's a different level of demand, is another quote. Here's another quote, last quote. It was about the same intensity as to where I went this time, but the coaches under Brown were nicer. Honestly, I regret transferring from West Virginia. So, it's not all one direction necessarily. One guy placed it on himself and said, hey, it's kind of on me to do that, right? The first quote, we talked about the first quote. He said, look, it's not just all on the coaches. Like, I have to be motivated as a player. And then you got this guy saying, it's about the same as where I'm at now, intensity wise. So the coaches under Brown were a little nicer. And look, it's nothing wrong with being a player's coach. It's, in my opinion. I mean, you can do that, but you got to have player-led teams as well. So, those are just my thoughts on the situation and what these players have had to say. I still want to point out I'm trying to be fair all the way through on this. It doesn't mean that necessarily that this is the way, but I kind of draw that conclusion. I do think it's just okay to acknowledge that this team and program was a little bit softer than we realized. I think I had an inflated view of what we were because of Zach Frazier, Wyatt Milam, TJ Jackson, guys like that. And I don't want to leave anybody out or that anybody was on the team last year. I'm not saying anybody specifically is soft. I'm saying that Neal was, like that all shucks mentality that he had, he get mad and fired up time to time. But overall, he loved these kids, and I'm not faulting him at all for it. Like, as a matter of fact, the way he treated Garrett Green and other players were better than most men treat their own son. So it's not that Neal Brown did anything bad, in my opinion. I just think at West Virginia, like I said, you could take Neal Brown and put him in a place maybe like a Texas or something, or a place that doesn't need this hard edge like we do. Maybe even in Oklahoma State. I don't know. That might be a bad example. But you guys know what I'm trying to say here. Like in Oregon, maybe, where, you can recruit good talent that doesn't have to necessarily be you don't have to win by being hard edged. Like, we have to win by being hard edged at West Virginia to the point to where it's just different than maybe 4 or 5 other places that are similar. So I think that's the problem with Neal in this situation was he got into a situation where I think he's a good coach. I think he knows how to coach offense. I think he knows X's and O's. I don't question his acumen very much. I just think that his ability to run a team and ability to grow a team into a hard-edged type team that we were trying to be where we ran the ball. I don't think had we not had Zach Frazier and Wyatt Milam and Doug Nestor, who knows what this tenure would have looked like. Honest to God. Like outside the offensive line, can you really name outside of Beanie Bishop, Charles Woods, a couple other odd guys? Did you name anybody, Letty Brown, that was really that hard-edged? So anyway, and look, like I said, I'm not trying to point anybody specific out. Like obviously the Stills brothers hard-edged. Like there are going to be examples of it. But overall, man, I think what these guys are experiencing now, we just heard Eddie B say it. We'll go back and listen to it one more time now that there's a lot more of you in here. Eddie V saying it himself on Three Guys, right? What exactly this is like for him at West Virginia compared to before.
It's, and
To you guys.
well, I could start off with intensity. I didn't know you could crank up intensity at practice like that.
I mean, that's an
You know,
indictment in
from
itself.
what
different. They've been here longer than 6 months. It's definitely a difference from last year.
what has
Seems like a guy. He seems like a guy that, like the 1,000-yard stare. Like it's definitely a difference.
changed? What their style is different? What is your noticeable difference of how the game is played and introduced to you guys?
Well, I could start off with intensity. And intensity is definitely, everything matters. It's there's very vocal.
Rich?
Very
Yeah.
very vocal.
So, obviously, like I said, this is just one guy here. That's just one guy's opinion. I've said it multiple times. Just want to make sure I'm getting the point across. And these 6 guys that we've talked about, it's just one guy's opinion as well. So 6 separate opinions. But I do think it adds up to something. And I think that we were trying to run the ball in an offense where we had really good players, but I don't think we had the right guy to tune those players up into what if you give Neal Brown, if you give Rich Rodriguez the offensive line we had the last 2 years, we set every record you can set as a running team. I believe that because we would have had much better running backs too. Like, well, Jaheim White is here, but we would have had guys that fit what Rich does, along with the quarterback run game as well. Can you imagine him with Garrett Green even? That would have been an incredible sight to see. We'll look back on this in a few years and realize how good we had it players wise. We had more talent than, and we lost more with good talent than, I don't know, like Dana Holgerson didn't have that kind of offensive line for sure when we were here. And I don't think Rich ever fielded an O-line with the high, like the caliber of players that we had just between, well, I mean, we just lost, some too, but if you just want to name Nestor and Frazier, or I mean, not Nestor, but Milam and Frazier alone, homegrown in-state guys will probably never have those talented. Zach Frazier's got a chance to be the best offensive lineman in the league, definitely the best center. Wyatt Milam is going to start as a Jacksonville Jaguar in his first year. Doug Nestor has been bouncing around here and there, right? So it's a wild scenario, man. Brandon Yates was a pretty good football player. I mean, he started as a freshman at left tackle, right? There's a lot. I mean, we can go more and more and more, but I think we've harped on it enough. I think that, this is a much different era. I think that, and I'm going to have Michelle on tomorrow, by the way, guys. Tomorrow at 8:30, this time tomorrow, we'll have Michelle on from over on X. I'm going to show you her really quick. She is a cool cat, man. She's a lawyer. She is a Michigan fan. So this is kind of the parallel. She was there when Rich Rod took over Michigan, right? And let me get her on here really quick. Guess I didn't type it right. Sorry. There it is. Okay. So this is Michelle. The good, somebody that loves to talk college football, things like that. So we're going to have her on tomorrow, and definitely have a great conversation with her. She was there for the Rich Rod, whenever the Rich Rod takeover Michigan, and I'll be curious to know what her opinion is on this West Virginia go around. I also want to talk to her about those players that they got, those first couple of years that Brady Hoke won a Sugar Bowl with. I'm curious if she'll admit that Rich Rod would have done the same. And she's going to speak on our West Virginia team too, guys. She's a very knowledgeable football. She knows a lot about it, right? She's not your typical woman in that way. In a lot of ways, she's every man's dream girl. I mean, she's a lawyer. She loves football. I mean, come on. Like, that's like knocking it out of the park. Anyways, I'll do my best not to make a fool out of myself on here. All right, so let's get on to the next subject here, guys. We'll go to a 6-second break. On the other side, how about this West Virginia defense? How good can it be? We just talked yesterday about 2 corners ranked in the top 3 in the league in PFF. And that's before you get to Jamori Robinson and others. We talk next. All right, guys, let me get a swig. My mouth is drying up a little bit on me here, but so I had a great time in Utah. I think I've told a lot of you that. I will be producing a video on that here in the coming days. Be looking for that too. All right. So like the video before you leave, by the way. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share the video out if you're able to do that. If you're on X, here's another thing. I'll be honest with you guys about something. My boss called me and asked me today to quit streaming on X. I can't say that I'm happy about it because I get such good numbers from X, but it's also deterring from YouTube, which is what matters in my world. And, I think I'm sacrificing definitely some engagement on YouTube for having a larger amount of people in here. I would love to know how you guys feel about that, because a lot of you do watch me on X. Would you be okay with coming over to YouTube? Because I'm not going to have much choice, If I just put the link to YouTube in the thing, will you guys click that and come watch on YouTube going forward? I'll try to do it slowly. Start doing less videos, but I'm going to need you to support me on this because they just don't seem to like it at Locked On. And they creatively, they haven't asked me ever. They don't ask me for very much, right? I have a successful show. I have one of the better shows at Locked On College. And then we all realize that, but I think what's happening is not only is me streaming on X hurting the audio product for podcasters, for the podcast side, people listening, I'm going to have to stop sharing the screen so much too, they said, because I'm pointing out to video that they're listening, right? Like they can't even, I have to be better. I need you guys to help me be better. I'm trying to grow and be better. And only because, I'm so used to only thinking about the YouTube, and I should by now already be getting used to just thinking about podcasting as well. I think another thing is during the off season, the video portion, like watching the West Virginia highlights, has been a way for me to, I don't want to say skate by, because I have a very much huge passion for watching tape, but it's been easy segments, right? Instead of diving into something else, I can put up the highlight tape, break down a player and all that. But it's not great for the podcasting side of that. And unfortunately, this is a bottom line kind of business. And I've got to change those two things to an extent. Now, I record so much, like I'm going to do some tape watch. I'm always going to do that. Even if I'll do 3 videos a day if I have to, like I'll do, because I do so many videos as it is. It's like, as long as I'm getting the necessary videos out, anything after that should be gravy. Because, it's either like I wasn't even going to do a video to begin with if I'm not talking about that, right? Because, so I'm still going to do tape. I know a lot of you guys like me to break down tape. I enjoy it too. But I just have to be a little better. I have to improve. And they're challenging me because this is West Virginia. This is a Locked On Big 12. I don't have every team in the conference to cover, right? There's not a great topic every single day waiting for me. And I still have the passion and drive, as you guys seen when I was on the road, after driving 10 or 12 hours a day to get down here, still record a video for you guys because I love you guys, right? And that's number one. Number two, I love West Virginia. I love talking about West Virginia, and that ain't going to change. So just wanted to get that out really quick. All right. How good can this defense be? That's a great question. I have the West Virginia roster in front of me, and I'm going to go over the defense individually, player by player, and try to build out what I think this defense can look like, and where we're at individually, and then as a team, right? So I am really super interested to see who. What's crazy is even if Jamoy Robinson doesn't play this year, and I know that's going to be a huge loss to a lot of us, I still think we're going to have a good pass rush. I've looked at it. I've watched the tape. Braden Siders he had sacks against Power 4 competition. He's had a lot of, he's had a lot of production at Wyoming. And guys, I just came through there, by the way. That Wyoming's at 8,000 feet above sea level. Do you know that? That's more than Mile High. It's more than Denver. Why does Denver get all the publicity for being a mile high when Wyoming is on the high plains? It's 2,000 or 3,000 feet higher above. I was like, I couldn't breathe in Wyoming either. Like, not to mention like coming through Denver, like down the Eisenhower that way. But man, just Wyoming generally is higher than the city of Denver, which is like 5,000 and something, 6,000, maybe 6, but like Wyoming was like 7 or 8. So anyway, he was able to do that at Wyoming where the air is really thin. And then Curtis Jones is one of the biggest. He's easily one of the 5 biggest wild cards on this year's team. Curtis Jones is a freak athlete, guys, a freak of nature. Jamoy Robinson style freak athlete, 6'4", 231, from our state of West Virginia. There's a lot of guys, and he hit a growth spurt, well, I'm told, a couple inches. So, this is one of those guys where we're not sure what he's going to look like exactly. We know he's good. He was good enough to come here to the first place before he grew. Now he's grown, and people are saying, man, watch out for this kid. Those are 2 pass rushers right away that I like. And then the best pass rusher of the group is Marshawn Oxley, in my opinion, as far as right now as it stands. The redshirt junior from Hutchinson Community College is an absolute terror off the edge, man. He's like, he's as good a pass rusher as we've had. If we had picked him up last year, he would have been, he's better than like Ty Bradley. You know what I mean? As a pass rusher, in my opinion. He's like on that level or a little bit above Ty Bradley. If that gives you a good assumption of like, he can get after it a little bit. Marshawn Oxley is a little more explosive though. So he's a good pass rusher. Keenan Eck, I don't know what to expect from Keenan. I love Keenan, man. I do. But 6'4", 205, that don't seem right to me. I thought he was bigger than 205. That's got to be a mistype. I'm on the West Virginia website, but like for those of you that haven't seen Keenan Eck, hold on a second. I just happened to read that as we were going along. There can be no way he's 205, right? Hold on a second here. That just threw me all the way off, to be honest. There's no way he's that tiny. 205? Ain't no way. Hold on a second, guys. So this is Keenan Eck, right? You're telling me this dude is 205 pounds? See if we can find a better one. He has someone like, yeah, right here. You tell me that guy's 205 at 6'4"? I just don't know about that.
POV.
There ain't no way that's a 205-pound guy. I mean, maybe, but I don't think so. He's 205 pounds and 6'4"? No way. He's like 225 at least. Somebody needs to now, maybe there he was, but I don't even know about that. I mean, just to be an honest, guys, that guy's bigger than 205. If he's 6'4" and then built like that, there's no way, right? Like, it's just almost impossible. But he's another guy. We might as well watch a play while we're over here. He can get off the edge a little bit at 6'4". Right here he is right here, tripping. Here he comes. Boom. He's a guy that can rush it a little bit. But anyways, that kind of threw me off. But I like Eck. I think he's a guy that'll be rotational. Once you get in the cornerback room, obviously it's Coates and it's Scruggs. And then you got, a couple other guys that, depending on where they play them, that's the thing. Like, I know Devontae Golden Nelson's going to be a corner. I know Nick Taylor's going to be corner. Keyshawn Robinson, Jason Chambers, Carmarius Bomar, Dwayne Galloway, Jaden Bell. I get that. Like, those guys are all corners. But I just some of it's confusing because some of the guys you going into this thinking are going to be corners end up being safeties. Some of the guys end up being safeties, end up being spears, and like just everything all around. So what I'm going to say is keep your eyes peeled for that, because a guy like, let me find him really quick. Like Derek Carter. He was a corner. He was a corner every year when you look at it, he was a corner basically at Jacksonville State, right? So I think one of the things I see out of Carter is a guy that can flip around to both positions. So I don't know, man. I was expecting Carter to be at corner, to be honest. This is the first – I haven't looked at the roster in a little bit. I was shocked to see him not at corner. But I had him penciled in as one of those guys. Like, yeah, obviously Coach Scruggs. Then I kind of had Carter there. But, maybe they're going to play him at safety. Maybe he's a step too slow for this level or something. I'm not sure. But if you're going to make me pick another guy, it gets dicey. Not that they're bad players necessarily. They're just – it's got to be Devontae Golden Nelson next. Maybe. But definitely Scruggs and Coates. It's an easy pick there. Then you got like the Nick Taylor who played the last 7 games at App State. Jason Chambers was an App State kid as well that followed their coach over. But, our corner room kind of needs to build some depth when you look at it. One injury to either one of our guys in Coates or Scruggs, and we can be in a little bit of trouble. So just keep an eye on that. Now, maybe some depth builds out behind them will refine. But, obviously Jaden Bell, like there are guys, but on the defensive line, Jamori Robinson is the star of the defense. I have some optimism that he's going to possibly be eligible, right? Like I am a little optimistic, but it's West Virginia, so we'll see what happens. If he's on the field, it's a slam dunk. Our defense is going to be much better. Even if he's not, Eddie Kelly right there with him, right? Wilson Telemack is a guy that I don't know what to expect from. He's working hard. He's a true freshman. Same thing with Carter Zuliani. I think he's a year or two away. Taylor Brown is ready to play now. He'll play now. He's one of our highest rated recruits we brought in this year. We watched the tape on him if you want to go back a few episodes. Big fan of him. Corey McIntyre, and this is the defensive line, obviously, room. Starting with Robinson, Kelly, Telemack, Zuliani, and now Brown. So there are 3 guys right here I know are going to play immediately. Robinson, Kelly, and even Taylor Brown as a freshman, I believe, will play snaps. He won't play a ton early because of the depth, but he'll play. Corey McIntyre Jr., like I've said before over and over, 6'3", 290-pound phenom. If we can just get him healthy and able to play, it's very possible that he's our best defensive lineman. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm only basing it off of what everybody else has said and what other offensive linemen have told me in the whole 9. So hopefully he's not damaged goods, but we'll see. Jackson Visor, that's a name I haven't heard in a little bit. Obviously, Caden Visor's brother. Nathan Gabriel, I think, is going to be the star that soars up on the defensive line this year, even among everybody else. I pick Nick Gabriel is my pick. If Corey McIntyre Jr. is not totally healthy, it's tough for me between the two. But obviously Robinson's a known commodity, Eddie Kelly known commodity. I'm talking about a guys that either way. Nate Gabriel played as a freshman last year, true freshman, and really held up well. I'm told he had an excellent offseason and is 6'3", 300 pounds. I just about guarantee he's going to have a monster year. We'll have a hard time keeping him next year. Another defensive end that can really get after it is Devin Grant. Guys, he can pass. He can rush the hell out of the passer, man. He really can. I mean, he started his career at Colorado and can really go. Sonny Redwood's been here forever. Elijah Simmons has been here a while. Quentin Goins is an up-and-coming redshirt freshman. And then we haven't even gotten to Eddie V yet. Do you know how deep this defensive line room is? I don't think people realize we go 8 deep on this defensive line, and it's not even close. Like, our defensive line room is so deep and good, especially if McIntyre and Gabriel comes on like I think he will. Taylor Brown should contribute, like I said. But let's just count the guys that I think can play, and then I'll add an extra point for guys I think are going to be good. Jamoy Robinson, it's not even a question. He'll be an all Big 12 player if he can play. Eddie Kelly, I think, will be good. I don't know yet what I don't know. It's one of those ones where, I think he'll be very solid. He reminds me of like a Sean Martin type player, so not bad at all, but he's not flashy either. This is what I'm getting at. Telemac, I have no idea what to expect from. He's 6'6", 250. He's a great athlete. We flipped him from Wisconsin. I don't know. Carter Zuliani, you guys know. I don't want to badmouth anybody, but I think he's a ways away. Taylor Brown will play right away. That's at least 1, 2, 3 guys right away that I think are going to play, and all 3 are going to be from average to very good, like Robinson. Corey McIntyre is number 4. I think he'll be very good as long as he's healthy. Nate Gabriel is number 5. I told you I think he's soaring up. Devin Grant is number 6. A really good pass rusher in Incarnate Word last year. Double-digit sacks in his career. Sonny Redwood is number 7. He's been here forever. He's a good player. Elijah Simmons is 8. He's a redshirt junior, and he can play absolutely. Quentin Goins will play. I don't know how much, but he's going to have snaps at 9. Eddie Vesterin, and I haven't even got to him yet. That's number 10. And he might be the most solid of the bunch that we've even mentioned. Adam Tomczyk is 6'3", 265, and I think he's going to get some rotation in there as well. Brandon Caesar, we beat Alabama. There's all kinds of guys that wanted that kid. Who knows what he can be? Hammond Russell, Eddie Vesterin said he's the most improved player, possibly the best player on the entire defensive line. What was that, 13 guys? Our defensive line room is as deep and talented as it's been. I don't think people – that's why Zach Alley went on the 3 Guys podcast and said, without question, it's defensive line. So I say all that to say, if you're good up front, every part of your defense has a chance to be very good and possibly elite. We've got 2 corners that are rated, right? Top 3 in Pro Football Focus in the entire Big 12. We've got 13 possibly defensive linemen, 6 of which I think are pretty good. That's pretty damn good, right? And then we haven't even mentioned Fred Perry yet. Guys, I don't feel like I'm embellishing. I really don't. I just don't think people know yet. I think, here's my opinion. It's impossible for anybody to follow every single team in football like that. Phil Steele does it. Other guys do it, but as closely as I do or you do, some of you, it's just really, it's almost impossible. You'd have to dedicate your entire life to it 15 hours a day. So, and I do that with West Virginia as it is. So anyway, I don't think just like last year, Arizona State was picked last. Similarly, they didn't know what they obviously had. I don't think people know what we have this year. I don't think we're the best team in the league or anything like that, but I do think defensively, I think a lot of people are expecting our offense to figure it out, and they probably will. But don't be surprised if our defense doesn't carry early on. And especially by the time we get around to Pitt, they can start to click a little bit, and look out then. It's going to be a fun process to keep track of, especially with a guy like Zach Alley calling plays. What a fun year it could turn out to be. And I haven't even gotten through the rest of the defense yet. Obviously we got to go through linebackers. John Lewis is a very solid player that I like a lot. I don't know what he's going to turn into, but he played in Mississippi State, he played at UNLV. I think he's pretty good. Ben Cutter, obviously super solid player. Definitely would play at a lot of Power 4 teams. He doesn't do anything flashy, but he's a physical, tough-nosed, hard-nosed, Reed Williams type player, West Virginia's had in the past. That's just a hard nose. He fits it well, hits hard, muscular, like that a lot. Michael Hasty is a freshman that is very athletic. Chase Wilson will be the star linebacker here. I do anticipate him to be an all Big 12 selection. I think he'll have over 100 tackles. I think he could be a Danny Stutzman type piece for Zach Alley. And he told me to my face that's what he was told when he got recruited. So I know that that's the pitch they gave him. He told me myself. So whenever Wilson was being recruited by West Virginia and Zach Alley, they told him he could be a Danny Stutzman type player like it was Oklahoma. And if you know anything about the Chase Wilson, he's good. I don't know if he's Stutzman good now. Danny Stutzman is one of the best linebackers in all college football, but last year. Chase Wilson's definitely can be a version of that. Ben Bogle, as you guys all know, if you watch the show for any amount of time, is one of my off-season stars. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's going to play and start in one of the linebacker roles. Ashton Woods has got a ways to go probably, but he's got the pedigree at North Carolina. He'll probably get some snaps. Reed Carrico is definitely going to be playing a lot, possibly start over Bogle in the beginning because he's a leader. He's a great player. He's from my hometown. Well, not my hometown, but where I live now, and the whole nine there. Caden Beiser is definitely a tough player, similar to Ben Cutter, that can play. And then we get to my star of the incoming players, Cam Torber. What a player, man. What a player out of Hoover, Alabama, and a freak athlete. You can run sideline to sideline. That will linebacker everybody wishes we had might be him. And I don't know if he can pick it up as a freshman, but if he can, athletically, physically, I think he's ready. He's got some of the most impressive tape of anybody on the team. Like, go look up Cam Torber, Hoover, Alabama. As soon as I get done here, thank me later. He is very impressive. So then you get to the safety room. Obviously, we'll have to run through this a little quicker, but Fred Perry, you know what you're getting here, a hard-hitting nickel safety that Phil still has him as a second-team All-Big 12 player. You have Will Davis, who has only 1,200, whatever it is, tons of tackles in his career, 12 interceptions, 4 return for touchdowns, but he's coming up a big jump in competition. But if he clicks, that's going to be amazing. Zay Jennings is a big wild card because the talent level is just ridiculous. Don't know what to expect out of him because there's so much talent in the nickel room, obviously between he and Perry and Davis, Filippo and others. So those guys at the nickel are pretty dang good, but like Perry, Davis, Jennings, damn good at the nickel. So, overall, we've got a pretty dang good defense. And then you get to the safeties. I've already said it multiple times, but I'll say it again now. Jordan Walker, I'm a huge fan of, coming over from Chattanooga. Justin Harrington, if he's able to play, will be a monster piece back there. Derek Carter Jr., I mean, play him where you want to play him. He's a good player. Decorah Tarnu was an all-conference player for Rich Rod before he transferred over here last year. And then he caught on at the end of the year at safety. And then Darren Lewis, who, as you guys know, I think is a 4-star transfer. I love Darren Lewis. Jason Cross has got some ways to go. Caleb Gray is coming over as a redshirt sophomore. I like him, but I don't know where he's going to – I don't know about this year. Julian Horton is a good freshman. And then, obviously, where did I miss? Israel Boyce. Israel Boyce is another one, man. Watch out for him. But overall, like, I love Jordan Walker. I think he's an amazing player. Like, he's the star of the group for me, as long as Justin Harrington can't play. If Harrington can play, then they're going to be a great duo. Or they'll both play. I don't know if they're going to play the same spot or beside each other or what. And that's not even counting Tarnu, who has kind of the upper hand because he's played in this defense before, along with Carter. Then you got Darren Lewis coming over from Akron, who I absolutely love. One of my highest rated players we brought in. So, I have a different feeling on the defense than a lot of people. I get criticism for sprinkling too much fairy dust on it. People think I'm crazy. They think I'm way overly optimistic. I just think our defense is massively underrated. Now, I can tell you right now, I don't have any clue about our offensive line. I really don't. I'm talking about all the way down to Livingston, Cray, all of them. I have no clue what they're going to look like. They could be bad even. Like, I've evaluated singularly the offensive linemen. We have some good players, but I don't have a clue. I really don't. I don't have a clue. Rich Rod's sure about the quarterbacks, so that's good enough for me. Wide receiver wise, I've talked about that. I love our wide receiver room for the most part, and I love our running backs room. So I really think we're sitting in the catbird seat. I do, but we won't know till the season starts. And I don't know if all these players are going to mesh. Those are the two questions there's no way to know about. We're going to find a lot about that over the summer, and that's the excitement of the offseason. We'll watch every press conference. We'll analyze every single word, every syllable of every word, and then we'll come on here and talk about it and be happy to do it. All right, guys. Thanks for joining in. By the way, tomorrow Ross Hodge does a press conference. I'll be covering that. Definitely going to be excited to talk about that and more with Michelle, who covers Michigan and others. She is an excellent college football fan and does a wonderful job. So I'll have Michelle on here tomorrow night at 8:30. So we got a big day planned for tomorrow. Can't wait to see you. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team every single day. Until then, though, I'll see you on the next one. And I'm out of here. Check out the portal, guys, on YouTube, by the way. Locked On Portal. Excellent job. Later, guys.